What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Mahkota Basketball Talk Show. My name is Ben. We will be having Mr. Rezhan Majid. Before we start our topic, can you please introduce a little bit of yourself?
Oh, yeah, sure. Thanks for having me, Ben. As you mentioned, my name is Rezhan. I'm a co-founder of Statsports League, a league that we started here way back in 2014 here in KL. And the purpose of which, when we started, it was really to create a league that was, the experience that we were looking for when it came to basketball. And when I say we, I mean me and my co-founders. I have two co-founders with me. We started as basketball teammates. And for me personally, I moved back here to Malaysia from the US and China back in 2011. And when I came back, I always loved basketball. I play recreationally, and a lot of how I'm sure like a lot of people that are watching this, how I made my friends was through basketball. And when I came back, even though I had friends to play with for basketball, the competition level wasn't what I was used to, and also the experience wasn't what I was used to. So, sometimes the courts aren't great. Sometimes the organization is not so great. You kind of just show up and people are late, the refs are late and all that. So we wanted to create a league that was, had the best management, best experience, and also did the stuff that wasn't happening, especially at the time. So everything went from photos to, recording the games to statistics, and also finding indoor gyms that had air conditioning. All of that wasn't done back when we started, into 2014. And so that's kind of been what we hang our hat on. And also the other thing is that we also made sure that Statsports League was open to everyone. So it doesn't matter if you are, an 18-year-old kid that is playing here, or a foreigner, an expat, or someone, from any part of the world that just wanted to play basketball. We made it open for anyone, no limitation.
Oh, that's really nice. You say you came back from the US, the States. So have you watched any live NBA games in there?
Yeah, I did. I did manage to. It was great. A handful of them. So I went to university at the University of Illinois. That's about 3 hours from Chicago. After I graduated, I also lived in Chicago for a couple of years and worked there. So I went to a bunch of Chicago Bulls games. I watched Derrick Rose. I'm also the same, same age as LeBron. So when I was there in the States, LeBron was just coming up. Yeah, so I watched LeBron when he came over to the Bulls. I also went to a bunch of Milwaukee Bucks games. I had a friend I went to high school with who ended up playing for the Milwaukee Bucks in the early 2000s. His name was Joe Alexander. I don't know. He might be a bit earlier than your time, but yeah. So I went to a few of his games. But yeah, I was lucky enough to go to a whole bunch. I went mostly in Chicago. I went to Milwaukee. Caught Kevin Garnett. That was fun as well. Kevin Garnett was fun to watch. I had good seats for that game. Yeah.
So back to our conversation. How would you like to introduce the Statsports League? Because for me, I'm new to basketball in Malaysia. Although I have been doing the social media for like half a year, but it is quite an underrated sports basketball league. So can you please share us some of your experience on creating the Statsports League, and how would you like to introduce to our audience?
I mean that's a fair question, and actually, Ben, if I can, maybe I'll throw it back to you. Why do you feel it's underrated? What made Statsports League appeal to you? Because I know you guys reached out to us. And we've been following you guys. You guys tagged us in a bunch of things, so I see what you guys are doing. You guys seem to really love the scene and kind of finding out different places. What is it about Statsports League that stood out to you guys?
Because somebody introduced to us the Statsports League is very organized. It's very organized. When I look up to the website, it's got every stats that every player has, and it's got highlights. It's got a full game review, and they also got the ESPN thing. That's why I'm curious about it.
Well, that's great. That's great to hear. I'm really glad you like that. We started in 2014, which is what, 8 years ago now. So you would have been quite young when we started, and so
Yes.
when we started, we were thinking about that. We're thinking about your generation coming up, and what does the next generation really care about when it comes to sports, and like how is it going to look going forward? Because basketball back then was quite, everywhere you went was going to be the same. The games were in a school, or maybe like a taman type of thing, and there was going to be one sponsor, and you maybe get maybe you get the jerseys, maybe you don't. And I think people back then also, all they cared about was prize money a lot of times as well, right? But we wanted a place where people that want to play basketball, you can compete, it's good, like we want to have the best of the best there. But honestly, it was about just having a good experience, and like I mentioned before, sometimes some of the leagues that I played in, it just wasn't very organized, and the venues weren't great, and for the venues, you may not understand this yet, but trust me, 15 years from now, if you're still playing basketball, you want to make sure you're playing on good courts, because your knees are going to hurt like mine.
This is very
your
true.
ankles are going to hurt. So part of it was for you guys, but part of it was for me and my co-founders too. Like, we knew, like, oh man, we gotta take care of our bodies a little bit. So that part was one of it. But when you mentioned stats and all that, that was another thing. Like, we saw an opportunity to really start to build up a database for people, again, for the average Joe, for the weekend warrior. Our tagline was the pro experience for the average Joe, right? So again, at that time, no one was recording games, no one was doing stats. Maybe they did it on the MABA level, maybe for ABL and all that, but we wanted to give the pro experience for average people. And as a result, we have, like you mentioned, we have 12 seasons of stats now in our database, and that's really not for us, it's for you guys, for anyone that played. You can still go back and you can talk trash, like, hey, yo, I schooled you, in 2015. You can see the video of it, you can see the stats of it, you can do your whole career, so that's really why we wanted to do it.
Okay, so what is your inspiration to create this league? Is it like a hobby?
Oh, well, I wouldn't say it was a hobby. I mean, it was a career choice I made. So as I mentioned, after university, I was working in Chicago. I worked a corporate job. I worked for Motorola at the time. Then, just after working there, I felt like it was time to move back home, and I did. Worked corporate again. And then at that time, I just thought, I want to do something that I care about, that I love. And what I love was sports, and I had enough of a business background. I cared enough, and I wanted enough to try and explore this, and I thought we could make it work. And so I sat down first with my business partner Andre, who you may or may not know. He ended up being the GM of the KL Dragons for a little while, and then proposed to him this idea, because he was more of the tech side. He's basketball head like me as well. Love basketball, love statistics, but could definitely know the tech side of things. I don't know tech, but I learned it over time with him, and also our other partner Ikram, who's our designer and also web architect guy. They were the ones who was able to change it from just the on-court experience and online experience as well. And so we thought, okay, maybe we have something here, and so we started it small. With our first league was only 8 teams. We played at Garden International School. It was all guys that we knew. We called them up, hey, come join this league, and this is how much it's going to cost. We'll arrange all this. There's going to be games, and kind of grew from there. And one of the big things we did also was create free agent teams, which I'm not sure if you know about that, right? So a lot of guys want to play, or a lot of girls want to play, and they don't have a team, right? They don't know who to play with, or they want to play competitive, and they don't have enough kaki and all that kind of stuff. So this allowed people to just join. We would make the team for them, right? So so our inspiration was really to create something that we cared about, and also create something that we thought could become a business later on. And now, 8 years later, we've had different iterations. We have different parts of the business as well. That's not just the league, but more on the technology side. But it all started with the first season of Statsports League.
8 years ago, do you quit your original job just to manage this Statsports League? Do you?
Yeah. We had pretty comfortable jobs too. We had pretty comfortable, well-paying jobs, and yeah, we decided to quit that. Had a little bit of savings, you know. I also saved a little bit of money here and there. Didn't, you know, we definitely did not have a lavish lifestyle for quite a number of years, and even now we're still, you know, trying to figure it out. But it was worth it, you know, because we're creating, you know, something that we really cared about, and also something that, you know, we got to play a lot. We got to create new things. We got to create new ideas. You know, like what you see now from Stat Sports is completely different from what it was 8 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, because we keep iterating it. And so it became an opportunity for us to do something we love, but also put a lot of our skills into play as well, whether it was technology or sports or, you know, creating a new experience. So yeah.
Yeah, this is the thing that not all leagues in Malaysia, because now we don't have like really had a pro league, pro basketball league in Malaysia. So this is not a thing that every leagues have. So like having stats, having videos, yeah. So
Yeah.
how old were you when you started pick up basketball? Do you have a dream to play basketball professionally?
If I did, it probably lasted like half an hour when I realized I wasn't that good. I started playing when I think the first time when I was in standard 3, you know, 3rd grade. So I think, what is that, 10th, 11th grade? And you know, that was the first time I played an organized game. I played, you know, at home in the compound with friends and stuff. But even then, it was just, you know, a small rubber ball, and we didn't even have a hoop. You know, we just, you know, sometimes at the roof there's a shingle, like one tile. We said, okay, that one's the hoop. You know, so this was back in 1992. I think before you were born, right? And
yeah.
Back then, for other people that are watching, that I remember here in Malaysia, they would show NBA games on RTM, but maybe once a month, and they would maybe show the finals. So, you know, I'd watch Jordan and stuff. But then I moved around after that. You know, my parents moved around, so I lived in different parts of the world, but it's always basketball that followed me around. So either I'd meet people through playing basketball, or I'd be a huge NBA fan. And also some of the old guys out there, if you guys are watching, before in, you know, the Star and New Straits Times, especially on Sundays, in the sports section, they would have some NBA clippings, and sometimes there would be pictures. There'd be color pictures. I'd cut those out. I paste them on my wall, you know. But that's about as far as I got. But yeah, but competitively, it was always for fun. I played high school. My high school was quite competitive in Beijing as well, so the standard was quite high. So I wasn't that good, but I knew what good was, and I played with a lot of good players, so that allowed me to be naturally competitive. But I was never anywhere near, you know, I wasn't going to make any college or pro team. Yeah.
But still, Beijing, which school were you studying in Beijing?
I went to the International School of Beijing. And so, a lot of the competition there was, we played other international schools around the region. So we would go to, you know, Korea, we would go to Seoul, we would go to Osaka, we would go to Hong Kong. But locally, we were also the first, this is back in the year 2000, so 21 years ago. We were also the first international high school to be invited into the Nike League, which at the time, and I think now, still quite a big local tournament for, you know, for in China and in Beijing, with the top high schools and the top universities. So we were the first international team that was invited to that, and we did quite well for a couple of years. Yeah.
Have you won like any gold medals or any championship?
So for that, yeah. So what was interesting about that was that first year we were invited. Again, we were the first international team invited, and we made it to the finals that first year and played against. I'm gonna forget that. I mean, sorry, this is 21 years ago, right? But we played against the top school over there and made it to the finals. We didn't end up winning, but you know, we won some some inter-school tournaments as well. But when it comes to medals and all that, it's just what do you call, you know, school regional tournaments and that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. So what was your like what's your aim or goal, or when you started to create this league? Like, yeah, what is your goal? What is your aim?
When we created it, again, I think it was just to create a league that, number one, was anyone could join, right? We've had difficulty finding, or I had difficulty finding leagues where, if you didn't have, if you weren't the right, how do I say this? There's a lot of different segregated leagues here, right? Let's be honest, right? There's like the non-Chinese ones, there's purely Chinese ones, there's, all that kind of thing. So there wasn't any that was like anyone can join as long as you play basketball, So that was honestly, that was the primary goal. I think there was also a sense when it came to basketball to really, how do you say it? It was quite categorized. You had to be whether you were a state player or Agong Cup player, then you can play in this league. Or if you are this level, you play in this league. So we wanted to be like as long as you want to play and you want competition, this is where you go. So you can we at one point we had a gold division and black division where some of the top players who thought they were good, they self-assigned themselves there. So really we were pushing for a competition by the players themselves. We didn't want to regulate that. And so what we wanted was to create a place for ballers and people that love basketball to play, but not worry about anything else. Because sometimes it gets too political here,
Yeah, I know. Just because there's a league called NCBL. Yeah, if you know that, then I think that's it. Just these two leagues that is more like exposed to the basketball society. Yeah. So you're playing in Statsports League, if I'm not mistaken. So do you have particularly like favorite teams in your sports in the league?
In Statsports League?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, and I'm curious if I don't know if anyone watching this or you have watched our old YouTube videos. So if you go to our YouTube channel, right, you can see all the games from day one. So I'm curious to see if anyone else has. But I mean, I'm biased because I play in it. I play for a team called Bandwagon. Bandwagon. We started as I mentioned before. There's a free agent team, right? So as I said, free agents are basically anyone that doesn't have a team. And so even though I knew other guys there and could have joined other teams, it was a way for me to meet new people. And as I mentioned, I like meeting people through basketball. So I joined the free agent team. And then from this group, we decided we like playing together. So every year there were new free agents who would, hey, come join us. And so, our team is called Bandwagon because we jump on the bandwagon. If you want to join, come play with us. But yeah, some of the teams have been really cool, like Advanced Pro. They've been reigning champions for a while before, our season got cut short last year for MCO. All really good players, a lot of veteran players, a couple guys that played on the Dragons, seasoned guys. So it's cool to see them because they are older, yet they still dominate because they're a good team. They play together,
They have a lot of experience, I guess.
Yeah.
And I also noticed that the Bandwagon, the logo, it's like the Denver's Nugget.
That's right. Don't tell them. I feel like it might be copyright infringement, but
so when you when they first created, what I think is because of the Denver's Nuggets, right? And then
the logo.
Yeah.
Is it
because of it?
Is it because of it? Well, that one you got to ask one of our team members. Gaia is the one that, if I'm not mistaken, Gaia, right? If you're watching this later, you can tag him to find out if this is true. But if I believe he's the one that came up with the logo. It used to be our second season. I think it used to be like a wagon. It looked like almost like a shopping cart. It's because we wanted it to be like, I don't know, something silly like a wagon, and then from there it became like an actual wagon, like an old school like Western wagon. And then from there, I think because it was a wagon, Denver and the Denver Nuggets logo is about mining, right? And so I think somehow he got to that. But anyway, it looks cool, and he just changed it to Bandwagon. I don't know. You got to ask him about that.
Yeah. So and I see that Statsports League don't have any like women section, a section particularly for women to play. So are you planning to like start for that?
Oh, we would love to. I think there was one season where we actually opened up registration for women. We just couldn't find enough teams. I think we had one or two of interest, and also at the time, I think we wanted to do it. There were so many leagues going on. You know, at one point, you know, I don't know if you remember 2 or 3 years ago, there were just leagues all the time, you know, to register.
Yes.
So I think there was just a shortage of interest, and maybe for the stat sports caliber, maybe people thought it was going to be too competitive or something like that. But honestly, I think we would love to create the same experience for women.
Yes. So we're gonna stay tuned for the women's sections. So and also, do you plan to start academy for the children or players under 18 to train them?
Yeah. I mean, do you think we should?
Yeah, actually, you guys should, because very less academy, like in a very such good condition, like you got courts, you got like many teams. Yeah.
I mean, I don't disagree. So the academy space in Malaysia, or at least KL, I think has grown a lot in the last few years. You're right. You know, several years ago there weren't many options at all. I think some come and go as well, but there's a lot of clubs now that do a good job of it, of really building up talent and, you know, being consistent with that. So like Go Strong is a very popular one now, right?
Yes.
That does everything from the strength and conditioning to the, you know, to the actual basketball training, individual fundamentals, but then also team as well. You know, it's a lot. It's a whole different space. But we did do somewhat of an academy at one point for a few years called the ASEAN Top Baller. I don't know if you're familiar with that brand, but that's under us as well. And basically, it was training for under 18s. We had 2 camps a year, and it was less of an academy, but more camps. And we brought in coaches from the US, and we teamed up with a company there called Global Squad. And they looked for players, in particular under 18, that were looking to get better and also to play in the US. So we would bring the coaches here, they would train them, and they would also give them exposure to say, hey, if you want to play in the US and you want to get a college scholarship playing basketball, come to ASEAN Top Baller, go through the camp. If you're good enough, we'll bring you over there. So we actually did that for a little while, and it went well. But I think our strength is really in the league.
Actually, that's really cool. Bring US coaches from the overseas. Does any of it, anyone of the like the camp students actually went to US to play?
Yeah, actually a number of them. So there was 2 different tiers of people or students that would go over there. The first one would be, you know, if you were good enough, the coaches would hand select you and invite you. Now the camp in the US, if you were selected, you would go there for 1 month, and every day you had 2 trainings, and on the weekend you played in an AAU tournament. So for 1 month, you're training with some of the top talent around the world. That were from international schools, but also just schools all around the world that were not American. So it was really, you know, you were thrown in the deep end, really pushed that way. So if you were good enough, you were invited, but you had to pay yourself, right? So you had to pay a flight ticket, you had to pay for the camp, food, and all that kind of stuff. But we also got sponsorship 1 year to actually sponsor that person to go over there. So we actually sponsored 2 kids while we were going through this for 2 years, 2 Malaysians. I think one of them, I think one of them ended up going to school in Australia, and I'm not sure about the first one, but they had the full experience, and at least 2 kids that we gave them a full ride, and at least 20 or 30 over the 4 years that we did it that ended up going on their own. Yeah. But yeah, we did the camp locally. We did it in KL a few times. We did it in Penang. We did it in Singapore. We did it in Manila, and we did it in Jakarta.
Oh wow, that's globally. Yeah,
it was great. It was really great to see the talent. There's a lot of talent actually from around the region here, you know, and a lot of kids that love the sport. Yeah,
it's like a junior NBA. It's like junior
a little
NBA.
bit.
Yes.
It really is, but more of the college pipeline, right? And it was a little bit a higher age group. So we were looking at between 12 and 16, the age range. Yeah.
Before we wrap it up on this Talk Show. So, what are the advice would you like to give to our young audience?
Advice about what specifically?
Advice about in terms of basketball. Yeah, hope you can give them some inspiration to let them work harder.
Yeah, sure. So for kids that love basketball or into it, I mean, I think the big thing is to have a bit of self-awareness, right? To kind of know what you want, right? Because if you really want something, trust me, you can get it done, right? And the other part is also knowing what you can do to a certain, what are your limitations? Like, I mean, I can want to be in the NBA, but if, there's only a few LeBron Jameses in the world, right? I can work as hard as possible. I'm not going to be 6'8" and 230, right? That doesn't mean that I can't play basketball professionally. It doesn't mean that I can't work hard and play somewhere, but it probably doesn't mean I'm not going to, probably means I'm not going to be a Hall of Fame NBA player, right? So I think knowing those two things and knowing kind of the world itself helps. But when it comes to the short-term and medium-term goals, whether it's like making your school team or just being the best at the taman that day, all that takes is practice and dedication. Honestly, I've seen it for the last 25 years. The guy that stays in the gym and shoots, the guy that stays in the that carries the basketball with him nonstop, that guy can be good, and no matter where he is, like on our level, on the recreational level, even on the high school and college level, it's just tenacity and practice, So if that's what you want and you're willing to dedicate yourself, I'm not trying to be like cheesy or inspirational. I'm telling you, like, literally, that's all you have to do, right? Do those things. Obviously, do your schoolwork and all that, because otherwise you won't be allowed to play. But just dedicate yourself. Wake up at 5 a.m., practice till 7, go to school. After school, practice another 3 hours. Then on the weekend, play all weekend. I guarantee you'll be good, But the other thing I would say is that, the stuff like you guys are doing is great. There's all the stuff around basketball now, and the world is so different now. There's social media. There's all kinds of things online, There's all these avenues that I think are great that people should explore when it comes to basketball, whether it's social media, whether it's blogs, whether it's vlogs, all that kind of stuff is important because by creating Statsports League, by creating SN Top Ball, by creating, these ecosystems and all these clubs and all these people, great people around KL and Malaysia are doing, it inspires more people, and we just all benefit from it, So really decide what you want and do it, honestly.
Yes, I agree with that because we have been doing social media, right? It is quite hard from the start. Then after you doing it for like few years, then you are on the right path. Yeah. So
that's right. And it's gonna be rocky, right? It's gonna be going good, and then one day it's gonna not be great. But just know what you want. Back to the beginning, right? Know what you want, and then just stay the course. Yeah.
Thank you for listening this Mahkota Basketball Talk Show. So I will see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. Rezhan.